Hello and welcome to the unofficial Bossier Senior Hockey League podcast, another summer edition of it. I'm joined by my co-host Corey.
Are we summer already?
Spring, summer, another off-season episode.
Off-season.
There we go. How you making out, Corey? You're back to work now.
Yep. Very happy to be back to work and hoping it goes fast because the second both seasons are done, guess what season starts? The BSHL season.
Be a great time. You work in a lobster processing plant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys just do lobster or lobster and crab?
Lobster only.
Just lobster?
I think one time they dabbled in fish.
Okay.
I wasn't there for that. We mainly do lobster, and it's basically you got a raw side and a cook side. I've always worked on the cook side. I've been hacking paws for 10 years. This is my 10th year. I enjoy it. It's not something that I thought I'd stay at. The money was good. The economy the way it is right now, it could be better. I'll
Sure.
leave it at that. But made some great friends there. A lot of hockey fans there. A lot of fans of the BSHL there. A lot of fans of the podcast there. So
A lot of JC's fans work at the plant where you work at.
big time.
Yeah, that's cool. It's always nice to work with people that are into the same stuff as you. It helps pass the time quicker.
Yeah.
So you're only a couple days in, but it'll probably heat up here in the next couple of weeks once more lobster seasons start up.
I sure hope so. A 60-hour week is what I want. At this point, I'll take 50.
Yeah. Well, it's been a tough few years in general.
Mm-hmm.
Right on, man. I'm glad you're back to work. I'm glad you're feeling good. I know it's always nice to get out and socialize with people.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's just something that I love. That's why I love this podcast, getting to chat with you and a lot of other people.
It was a lot easier going back to work this year than any other year because with this podcast, with Wrestling with the Bros, with the Maritime Warrior, my own YouTube channel, I felt fulfilled in my off time. I felt accomplished. So it was like, might as well go to work, make some money, and it'll make the good times come quicker.
Yeah, I mean, when you stopped working for the winter, we had something like 100 followers.
Yeah.
And now we've grown so much, and I'm very thankful for everybody that follows us. It was a good off season for you.
One of my best friends at work, Glenn Cormier, he's not a very big computer guy. I think he's listened to the podcast a few times. A goalie in beer leagues.
We went and saw like a charity game that he played in.
Yep. And apparently that charity game is coming back, but it's going to be a tournament.
Any excuse for me to go eat some food at the rink in Bucktush, I'm always down.
I remember talking to him at our meeting, and he's like, I remember you talking about that podcast, like, just when it started. Like, it was like right when work was about to finish where you invited me on. And he's like, I never thought it would have gone that big. And he's like,
us either.
No, not us either. But he's like, both you guys got this weird charisma and this weird chemistry that just really, really works. He watched one of the live streams, and it took him a few times to realize that it was me on commentary.
That sounds right. Yeah, you definitely get this excitement in you when you start live streaming. You have a lot of fun with it. So
I love it.
One of the highlights was watching you flourish with the live streams.
Yeah.
Talking about the BSHL, there's something very exciting happening this weekend.
Yes,
it's the annual general meeting. I have heard very good things about what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What do we hope that gets talked about this Sunday? What's the number one thing you want to see change, or you want to see them have a discussion about? We won't be at the meeting, just so we're clear.
No,
this is a closed door meeting. The second meeting that they have is more of a general public meeting. We will be at that one. If we were allowed to get into this one, we'd be at this one. We want to support the BSHL in any way possible, including just being there and supporting ideas and open discussion. So we won't be at this one, though, and that's okay. What one change do you hope comes out of this?
I think with the success of this season, like the big success, like you can't deny this was a huge success for the BSHL and for senior hockey in the Maritimes. The one sort of black mark was that fight rule. I think they should reconsider that. If it stays the way it is, how much fun we had this season, fine. But I strongly consider changing that fight rule because, it went from a 10 season to a 9. And that 1 point missing is the fight rule. The fighting after 10 minutes being suspended for, I think those are things that, this isn't junior. This is senior hockey. So I'd change that personally.
I agree. I think so. The fight rule to me is the number one thing that something needs to change. That was frustrating. The misconduct in the last 10 minutes as well.
Yeah.
There were some cheap shots that happened that just can't happen. If you've got to be accountable right to the stop of the clock.
Yeah.
If you're not held accountable, some people are going to get those sticks up a little higher than we like to see. Mm-hmm. So that rule, I think, in my opinion, if we could change that would be great. I think this was one of the best years of senior hockey in a long time. Very successful. I think all the teams did well. Hopefully they made lots of money and were able to take care of the players and continue to grow senior hockey. What do you think about the import rule? Do you want to see the import rule come back? Do you want to see it grow? Would you like to see it change? Would you like to see it go away?
I had no issues with the import rule. Some imports, I won't name names, but some imports were at sometimes useless, opinions.
And some imports were the best players in the league.
Yeah, and some imports were just like a breath of fresh air. I don't want to see, the guys that got imported in are grandfathered in, and now we can get another import. I don't want to see a case like that. I like senior hockey the way it is. If you want to trade off an import, switch someone out for someone else, that might be okay. But to keep your import and being able to get another import, I'm not okay with that.
So you'd be fine if the Dalhousie Marauders is going to be my example. If they decide Pascal Valcourt is no longer going to be their import, they could bring somebody else in, or they could decide to keep Pascal Valcourt. You would not want to see it where Pascal Valcourt is now just a Dalhousie Marauder, and they can go get another import on top of Valcourt.
Exactly.
What is it about having two imports that you don't like?
I think there's a community thing about it where it's people that you know. I think that brings crowds to the arena. An example, the Hawks bringing in
Landry and Daigle.
And Daigle. You thought this was a playoff game. Local boys, I like that, having them in your territory. Mm-hmm. If you want to continue and improve on that import rule, why not just do a draft?
I think the only thing with the draft is player X might be willing to come play in the league if he can play with this team, because maybe somebody on that team is a close friend of his. So that's going to entice him to go play.
Yeah.
When player X might not want to go to another team, even if they're in relatively the same region. A player might want to go play for the JCs because they're close friends with Logan Timmons. They wouldn't want to come play for the Hawks because they don't know anybody on the team. So I think the draft might not work for that reason. I agree with you more than I've ever agreed with you on anything. Honestly, I like the import rule. A lot of people don't. I'm okay with the import rule how it was last year. You bring in one import, it ups the scoring, ups the excitement level a little bit. It makes it so that you got to get a good import, because that import could win you a cup. Pascal Valcourt, not naming names. Peter Trainer. These were phenomenal players, some of the best players on those teams. So the importance of getting a really good import, or getting a really good import goaltender like Jason Ryu. My God, what a player he ended up being. I don't mind having an import goalie and an import player either. I'm okay with that, but I could not agree with you more. No, not more than one import, because I like that local flavor. I want to see guys playing for their home team or where they grew up, in the case of like Jessica Bernard or something. I like to go to a Hawks game and see guys from around here. There's something about it. So yeah, I completely agree. But I wouldn't want to see the import rule disappear either. It added some spice, some much needed spice to the league this year. Best season I've seen in years. Great.
Absolutely. A buddy of mine, we talked about this year and last year, because last year was really my first taste of senior hockey. Yep. I'd always heard of senior hockey, but it's something that I never followed. And
you're like, it's just a bunch of old guys, probably shitty hockey. You got woken up.
I got woken up big time. But you got to look from last year. We're fans. Sure. We're from Rishibuktu. We cheered for the Hawks. It's no big secret. But the Hawks dominated. And as a fan, that's what you want to see. As a podcaster for this year, it was so even. And it was so interesting to see who falls first, who falls last, who, when I saw the Hawks were like middle of the pack, I was like, interesting. And then when I saw Dalhousie just take first place and not look back, interesting. Especially watching Get Pucked. The most recent episode we're going to talk about in a minute, but saying Dalhousie was the worst team in the league last year. From worst to first to champions.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think they were the worst team in the league last year, to be fair.
Yeah.
Also, just thinking about the playoffs this year, like Trackety Shippigan could have gone either way. The Hawks and the Lumberjacks could have gone either way. Mirror Machine and the Lumberjacks could have gone either way. Who knows who wins the cup if the Hawks beat the Lumberjacks, maybe Miramichi beats the Hawks, and then you end up with Dalhousie and Miramichi. Who knows?
I don't want to offend anybody. There's always going to be a special place in my heart for the Hawks. I don't think, this is my personal opinion, don't get mad at me. I don't think there's anybody that could have took the cup this year instead of the Dalhousie Marauders. They were laser focused on that.
Miramichi?
They didn't even make it to the finals. I love Miramichi.
Had they made it to the finals,
I think they probably lose in 7. As much as I love Miramichi, Marauders were taking that cup this year. They weren't taking no for an answer.
I don't know that I've ever seen a team more determined, from ownership to coaches to GMs to players. Yeah. They wanted that cup this year. They were robbed of it the year that COVID came through. Yeah. They had a great team that year. They wanted that cup, and they earned it, and they got it, and I'm very happy for them.
My reasoning for saying that is just the fact that they had guys coming from Moncton, and they'd come in early to practice. The fact that most of their roster played at least 15 games. Some players played the minimum that you could play to make the playoffs, and then they took some time off and all that. Not the Marauders. The Marauders were laser focused on that cup, and they became the BSHL champions, and they deserve it. Now, could Miramichi win the cup? Of course. They were a juggernaut. Could the Hawks have won the cup? Of course. The talent on that team is unbelievable. Could have River Valley done it? Of course. Any team that makes it to the finals has a chance to win the cup. I'm sticking to my guns in this from the beginning. I think it was written in the stars that this was the Dalhousie Marauders year. And the more I think about it, the more I'm so happy that the Marauders won, because our good friend that passed away a few weeks ago, Jason Bama, got to see his Marauders hold the cup.
So, I think Dalhousie was meant to win the cup. But let's go back to talking about that import rule. We hope that the import rule stays the same.
Yes, absolutely. At the beginning of the year, I didn't know how I felt about it. It grew on me. Okay. It helped some teams more than others, but you just got to find the right import. But adding an extra one, and you lose your hometown guys, and I don't like that. So as is, I love it. And I like the idea of, replacing an import, getting rid of him to get this guy, someone that might be more committed, um, because if an import is going to Bucktouche and he's from somewhere in Nova Scotia, or like if he's going to Shippigan and he's all the way in friggin' God knows where, you run a risk of not having him because it's a long distance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. The other thing that I think will be talked about this year at the AGM is, boy, the rumors have been rampant, Corey. Will there be a new team in the league? We've all heard the rumors.
Yeah.
Some of you listening have heard the rumors. There might be a new team in the league. Hopefully there is. We've heard rumors. We're not going to mention anything because we don't really like to report rumors.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that will come up is, will there be new teams? We'll find out after this weekend. I personally hope so. I want to see continued growth. I'm not sure where teams can come into the league and be viable right now. But, Elsbuktuk and Bucktouche are both very good teams, very successful teams, 20 minutes away from each other. Yeah. So we can fit some teams in here and there.
Here's a question I got two questions here.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So the first one, you just mentioned Elsie and Bucktouche, so I'll go with that one first. Yeah. So the rumor would be that there would be 3 divisions, and Elsie and Bucktouche would be split up. Don't you think that 2 divisions would work better? One with 5, one with 4?
I've definitely heard that rumor. So what you're saying is the other team is to the south of Bucktouche. It would be that team with a team in Spring Hill and Bucktouche, and then the Hawks with Miramichi and River Valley, and then the north becomes the north again. Yeah. I've heard the same talk. Maybe. I don't mind the 3 divisions. Maybe you play each of those teams an extra couple times in the season. Yeah. Adds a little bit of spice.
See, to me, I love Shippigan and Trackety. That's probably the best rivalry I've seen. But I am from Rishabuktu.
I thought you were saying like those are my 2 favorite towns to go visit.
And they're not bad. I like it there. But I am from Rishabuktu, and Rishabuktu versus Bucktouche is honestly the ones that we're going to see the most because that's the ones that we're closest to.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want to see these 2 split up. I think the rivalry, going back to the 23 season, where they went to Game 7, the rivalry has a history. You don't want to split them up. You also don't want to split up River Valley and Miramichi. And you're not going to split up Shippigan and Trackety. I think this new team could be a hell of a great rival for Spring Hill. But yeah, I'd prefer the 2 divisions, 5 in one and 4 in another, which leads me to my next question, which would be 9 teams. How do you structure the playoffs?
Is it only 9 teams? Do they add 2 teams?
If they add 2 teams, I still think here's how I would do it. I love talking with Ricky Bassarash about this stuff because he's just like, we'll just like fantasy book how we would do it. And his idea is a play-in round with the top team getting a bye. To me, I'd have 9th place not make the playoffs. So there the regular season matters because you're fighting to not be last. And then it's not, and you're not hearing, oh, well, the season starts in January. No, the season starts when it starts.
Yes, but playoffs, the money matters, right? In senior hockey, there's not a lot of money. Thing. There's not, because it's where it's the reality. If you take away the playoffs, where those are some highly attended games, that could cut into your bottom line at the end of the year, and it could be the make or break between a team being able to come back and being financially viable and not coming back. I would hate to see that. I do get what you're saying, but what if, the top few teams had a bye and the bottom 4 teams or whatever it would work out to be had a play-in tournament. Then you've got a little bit of skin in the game to finish higher, but you still get some playoffs.
Do we have because we both know April, May fishing season starts.
Mm-hmm.
So does that extend the playoffs though? Because the way the playoff format worked this year, it ended, a few weeks before the fishing season even started. Whereas last year,
finished
the
like the day
playoffs
before.
it ran a little long.
Brutal.
And I think LC and Bucktouche, I believe, the day after or the day after that, something like that, the fishing season started.
Yeah.
But that was the scheduling thing, bringing in the Acadie Chaleur teams, which just doesn't exist anymore. It's just the BSHL. But, I get what you and Ricky both are saying about the money thing.
Even if that play-in round is only you can think of any number of ways to do it. You could do 2 games and have it be a combined score of both games. And then you only have 1 weekend, both games get played, and then you start the following weekend. It adds some interest. Maybe the first game finishes 1-1. That's okay. It's allowed to finish 1-1. You don't go to a shootout. Maybe you just do like a 5-minute overtime, then you call it, or you go continuous overtime. Who knows? And then the second game, if the end of regulation, when the scores are added up, one team's leading, that's it. So there's some pressure to do well or to score a lot of goals. I'm not sure. It's complicated. I would not want to have the president, the vice president's job figuring that stuff out.
Yeah.
Scheduling is not fun, I'm sure. There's a lot that goes into it, and my hat's off to everybody that does that work.
Absolutely.
And some people are going to be upset with how it goes. Some people are going to be very happy. You're never going to please everybody in anything in life, especially in senior hockey.
No.
All that I know is hopefully all the teams from last year come back healthy, better than ever, and we have hopefully a 9 or 10 team league. That would be phenomenal.
I'd be so disappointed if a team wouldn't come back, because 22-23 was pretty much the same groups.
Mm-hmm.
My goal has always been to have a memorabilia from every team. So far on my wall, I have 2. I am missing 6.
Yep.
So
you got to step your game up. So you're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm too
That's
cheap.
fair.
I'm too cheap. Both things I have there, I didn't pay for them.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, you cheap bastard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. We're going to be talking about it next week. We are going to move on now and talk about Get Pucked.
Yeah.
It was the bus ride from hell episode that aired today, where the team's making the trip to Dalhousie, and the bus is in pretty rough shape. Dave Boyce talked a bit about it, but man, very good episode. It was a fun episode to watch.
Yeah.
Did you recognize anybody in Dalhousie? Did you see old Travis over there?
I did see Travis.
There you go.
I did recognize Travis. What's fun about Get Pucked is the fact that they go to these arenas and you're like, this looks familiar.
Yeah, for sure.
There it is. There, Dalhousie. Love that arena. Just when I think it was Connor and Tyrion were standing at the guardrail, you're seeing behind them all the pictures and all that, and you're like, I've definitely stood where they stood.
I love those. I like Miramichi and Dalhousie do it best for that, but having the old pictures of years gone by on the wall is beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
Absolutely.
And it's just been a decent show. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I'm enjoying
this. Might have been my favorite episode.
It's up there.
It's a good one. If you haven't yet, check it out, please. Let us know what you think.
There's an awkward situation with and I feel for Connor here, because in this episode, Tyrion starts crying in a McDonald's, like in line wait, and Connor's like, I didn't know what to do. I thought they forgot his sweet and sour sauce or something. And Connor's reaction is so genuine And I've been there when a grown man just starts crying. I'm a
It was
guy.
me. I cried, and he was next to me. It's fine.
I'm a weird guy that doesn't really cry. And when an awkward situation like that happens, I'm like, I'm not sure what to do. And Connor's reaction to Tyrion crying was, I saw myself in Connor right there.
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot, and I've been enjoying this show. So, yeah, check it out. The other thing we'll get into, I was at some hockey last weekend. We were at North Pro. Good North Pro show, not the best North Pro show.
A lot of cancellations. I've been talking nonstop with your cousin Connor, who just absolutely fell in love with North Pro and Maritime Wrestling. Yeah, great guy. We got him a bunch of pictures with him and the wrestlers. I left before Moondog came out, and I saw that he got to hold the belt. Yeah. And that's when I started picking his brain. I was like, was the belt heavy? How was the belt?
The belt was heavy. The belt was beautiful, though.
Did you hold it?
So excited. No, but he was so excited. It was awesome. Yeah, man. Maritime wrestlers are some classy people, very nice people. Yeah. They make a pretty special event for people, and seeing Connor have that much fun is amazing. So we love it. I also got out to the Junior C Maritime Finals, which was some really good hockey. Had a lot of fun. Thanks to the organizing team for inviting us out there. Corey, you were getting ready for work. You didn't make it out, but Tracy and I did, and my mom came with me. We had some fun, and honestly, it was really good hockey. And it was fun, man. Got out there, got to take pictures of the cup presentation and all that stuff, and I had a blast. Always nice to see Dawn from the River Valley Lumberjacks. Her son won a gold medal with Tri-County. So, congrats to them. Congrats to Sunny Corner for hosting such a great event. And, man, it just rekindled my love with the Miramichi Civic Center. What a beautiful rink.
Yeah.
Also, Miramichi right now, they are in the finals, possibly going to win the MHL Cup tomorrow, Thursday. I'm sure that place is going to be just hopping.
3-2, right?
3-2. Last game they won in double overtime, so that's been a phenomenal series. I wish I could be there tomorrow night. I have an appointment in Moncton, and I don't think I'm going to get out of Moncton until like 7 o'clock. The game starts at 7 in Miramichi. It's kicking me in the ass that I can't be there, but that's okay. I'll be sure to check it out, and good luck to the Timberwolves. The city of Miramichi deserves a championship, so it'll be awesome to see that.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to talk about Jordan King. How do you like that interview?
Really liked it. Was an interesting one. Was a different one. It was an eye-opening one. I really enjoyed this interview.
He's one of the nicest guys we've had on here. Really we say that a lot. They're mostly all nice, except this Connor guy. The Connor guy is he's all right. He's kind of a jerk, but everybody else is pretty great.
Hey, he recorded 3 episodes with me on my Maritime Warriors YouTube channel.
That's true. He did. He's a sucker, and he's kind of mean. So now we love Connor, man. The people that we have had on are just amazing. But man, Jordan King was a class act. It was fun to hear about the Southern League. It was fun to hear about his time being a linesman for the BSHL and his time covering AUS hockey. Very good interview, very fun. Thanks to Jordan for coming on. We hope to have you back on sometime soon because it was a really good time. But we're going to throw that interview right now, Corey. We'll be back next week to talk about the AGM when we find out, hopefully, everything that went down. If we don't find out, there's something wrong. Someone's got to tell us something.
Yeah. This episode was a lot funner than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be tired and not very, but I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot to talk about, which is nice. Hopefully next week will be a lot to talk about again, and
I hope so.
We can roll this, man. You got to think we're already, getting close to a couple of months out of the 7 weeks since the season finished. So starting to move into the summer, which is when I started this podcast up, and then August when I brought you on, and you know how quick it went from there to the start of the season. So
we'll have to share a beer together now.
We'll have to share a beer together sometime, man, and some good food, hopefully.
Oh hell, that's.
I'm down for some food.
We'll all right,
man.
Here.
Hope everybody enjoys that interview, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care. All right, Corey from the podcast. We're back here, joined by my co-host Corey,
Today,
and we have a special guest today from the Fredericton region. He refs in River Valley, and we've been talking on and off all year pretty much since I think December we started chatting. So this interview is a long way coming. Jordan King, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a long time coming here. This league has really done well for the region, and it's great to see. As officials, we really look forward to these games. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Let's start with what other leagues do you ref in? So I know you're not just doing the Beaux-Arts League.
Yeah, so actually I've been refereeing since I've been 14 years old, started at a young age. We basically, all the referees that are in this league do multiple leagues. Us in Fredericton, most guys are still working, like midget AAA, midget AA. There's a lot of university hockey in Fredericton. I work the women's side. A lot of the referees that would do the senior league in Doketown, they also referee the men's side of youth sports as well. And then on top of that, we also cover junior C and pretty much all minor hockey. A lot of us, too, that do the senior league are also minor hockey league supervisors for the referees. So, yeah, keeps us busy in the winter. So
keeps you busy for sure. You guys also do the Southern League, right?
We do, yeah. So our area is quite big. We're mostly central New Brunswick. So we cover from, I guess, Doketown in the north would be our top point, Birch Corner in the west, and then Chipman to the east, and Tri-County to the south.
That's huge, dude. That's insane. You put some miles.
Big area, yeah.
So do you have like a crew that you normally ref with, or does it vary?
There's probably between 20 to 22 of us in the Fredericton area that do senior hockey. Tournament weekends, we could actually grab some of our younger guys if we get short. But for the most part, there's about 20 of us, and we rotate through. There's some guys that will travel up north to Grand Falls and Edmundston to do junior A, and then there's also a lot of us still work high school, work university women's, and all the hockey.
Unreal. So what? I mean, to be fair, being a ref is not, a lot of people joke about it or whatever. It's a pretty serious thing. You guys are, especially like those River Valley guys, you guys are in pretty great shape. You guys ref a ton. What inspired you?
Yeah, the start of the season was definitely fun with the fights. Obviously, that fight rule that kind of changed things for us. But no, it's something fun to do. I enjoy doing it. It also helps if you get to know the guys on the ice. If you kind of get to know them on a personal level, it's great that way. So, yeah. What
inspired you to start reffing when you were 14?
Honestly, it was the cash. When you're 14, you can't exactly get a legal part-time job, right? And I think just being around the rink, you've seen the opportunities and you've seen kids your age jumping out there. So I think as soon as I got that first paycheck, I said, yeah, I think I'm locked in here. So
you played hockey before that, I assume?
I did. And like most referees, you got to make that decision. I didn't play at a high level. I played up to midget C. And actually a funny story on that is I got thrown into my first high school game when I was in grade 11. So here I was going to school with these guys. And actually the Leo Hayes tournament is I think it's in December every year. And somebody's grandparent had passed away, like another linesman. So they were scrambling for somebody. It didn't have, and at the time we were still doing the 3 special systems. So we didn't have a lot of guys to grab from. Anyways, I got a call probably Saturday afternoon. Quarterfinals are usually Saturday night. And they gave me the call, and it was actually Leo Hayes and FHS, the Battle of the Bridge.
Oh, man.
And I'm jumping out there for my very first high school game, grade 11, and I'm working hockey with guys, and I'm sitting beside there in high school. So it was interesting. I definitely made a few mistakes, but, worked out for the better after I got that first one in. So
what do you think about the Beaux-Arts League? You do the Southern League too. Can you compare the two a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say the top 2 or 3 teams in the Southern League could definitely compete in the Beaux-Arts. I'm not sure who would win. I think we'd find that out pretty quick with an exhibition game. But I'd say for sure, I think in the finals, St. John played St. Stephen. And I'm going to say St. Stephen could skate with any team in the Beaux-Arts League for sure, hands down. They got a great team there. So very similar hockey. There's a few teams starting out in the Southern League. That's going to take some time, but, works. So we'll see. It'd be great to see if they could do even like just one exhibition game between the teams, like at the start of the year, if the teams were available to do that. So
I know it was talked about between St. Stephen and the Rivermen. The Rivermen. What am I talking about? The Lumberjacks this year, and then it was canceled. But it would be interesting, and I know the fans talk about it. Like, what would it be like? What would the competition be like? Because there's definitely some crossover. Some guys from the BSHL League went over to the Southern, vice versa. So it would be interesting.
Yeah, and I think as the season went on, the Southern League kind of showed that they were right there, and they were able to grab more players after Christmas, which was beneficial to them. The nice thing they have in that league, I did hear from the players, is the fight rule resets at game 1 of playoff for all teams. So it's great to see. And that being said, there wasn't useless fights. There was fights when there's a dirty hit. There was fights, at times when it was needed, right? So it was good to see that way.
As an official, you're hoping that fight rule kind of disappears a little bit?
I'm not for or against fighting. There's a point in the game. I think you guys had Nick Foran on, and he kind of went into this more at the start of the year. There's a place and time for fighting, and I think most guys that are fighting now can also put the puck in the net. So I think there's a good trade-off there with that. So
yeah,
it's a good way to protect your teammates. Sometimes you get that little. I don't know, are you going to go for that big hit if you know that you might have to face Brendan Kenny or someone? I don't know. Maybe it changes your perspective.
Yeah. And that noted too, the 3-fight rule, that's a Hockey Canada rule. That's not something that we can change at the local level. That's something across the country that's put in place. So
100%. It's a tough one. It's gonna be a conversation this summer though by a lot of the fans of what happens. You look at Quebec, they have some outlaw leagues, and that might be the only way to get around it. I don't know the logistics of that, so it's tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in Quebec, there is ways technically to get around being under Hockey Canada's umbrella. If you're willing to pay the massive insurance, I think that's the only way you can kind of operate under your own rules. But then again, if you're going to do that, you're basically going to have outlaw officials. You're not going to have Hockey Canada officials doing your game. So, yeah,
there's a lot to think about, but it should be an interesting summer to see what happens. So this year, you've been able to kind of help me when there was some weird hits or weird calls. I'd watch a game and I'd go, I don't know what the hell that call was. So I'd just be like, hey, Jordan, can you explain this to me? That happened a few times, but one especially was that River Valley game. So we're talking a bit about the hit from behind in senior versus the hit from behind in university. Can you explain the difference there for me?
Yeah, so basically with university, they're very on top of the rules. They're like the NHL. They're tweaking rules year by year. And it's very in line. Junior A will usually follow their lead on that. So when in this scenario here, I think you're talking, and I can talk on this because I was on the ice. I'm not seeing videos on this. What it was a hit from behind, which was perfect call. But in U Sports, they have the option right now that if it's a 2 in a game for check from behind, I'm 95% sure on this I think it's just a minor penalty or a 10. I don't think the player's kicked out for the game, and that's a university rule only. In that case, it was the degree of violence and impact, where a check from behind, you get them a number, something's got to be called there, and it was the right call. But it's one of those things in time they kind of compare their rules with university rules and just sit down as a league and whatnot and discuss some things like that. So.
Sometimes there's some interesting calls where it's like a borderline or a soft hit, but you guys have to call the rule by the letter. So you're kind of handcuffed there.
Yeah. I think I lost you there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. That's just another one too is the kneeing call. That one up to 4 minutes 3 or 4 years ago. That's one that a lot of guys that say just started playing senior hockey in the last year or two might have been off for a few years. As soon as that call gets called, you get a lot of weird looks. But that was more of a safety thing because with kneeing, it's just a dirty hit all around. And I think the 4 minutes kind of bangs it home and sits the guys down for that. So
it's one of these things. Looking at the Facebook page for us, being a referee, sometimes it's a thankless job. You're going to make someone happy and the other side is not going to be happy. One thing that I realized just being a spectator, not a fan of any team, is, you got to call what you see. If there's something you don't see, well, that's not your fault. You didn't see it. But, it's like the fans won't see it like that. What do you respond to people that like the negativity on that side?
A lot of times, especially if it's if somebody not corners me and wants to have a conversation, a lot of times if they're off the ice, it's a lot easier to explain. I find if somebody has a conversation about a call, you can explain that call, why it was and what our options was. Whereas if it's something on the ice and the guy's barking, there's really no point to even bark back, because at that point it's a heat of the moment thing. And
yeah.
Senior hockey's all about that, which is guys are allowed to kind of show their emotions for the most part, right? So it's a good avenue for that in senior hockey. You can let the guys play for the most part, but when it comes time for penalties, the penalties are called. So,
what is the best chirp that you've heard from a fan while you were reffing?
You know what? This actually came from a university women's game probably
Okay.
10 years ago. And I think it was one of the girls. Now, I'm not going to nail this, but it was something on the lines of tanning. And it said, one of the girls, this is an exhibition game, one of the girls looked at the other girl. I was grabbing the puck as a linesman to go start face off. One of the girls looks at the other one and just says, "You're tanorexic," talking about tanning. It had nothing to do with weight or anything like that. Just out of the blue. And I think I was just as baffled as the girl was that was receiving that thing. So it was interesting. Most of the time in senior hockey, it's just the usual. There's nothing really to it,
What's the best one you've heard from a fan?
From a fan. Honestly, we don't hear much from the fans because with the glass and stuff now, I know Doketown's a little different with the shorter glass, but in the newer rinks with you got 4 feet of boards and 10 to 12 feet of glass, we don't hear much. Usually it's the 3 blind mice, the typical stuff like that. You'll see, in my younger years, if you've got a toss a father that, got a little belligerent, usually it's the 3 blind mice with the walking stick is the biggest one. But I mean, so comes with the job, I guess.
You ref a lot of women's U sports. What's the competition like there? What's the differences in officiating between senior and the U sports you do?
Honestly, I got to hand it to women's hockey. I don't do a lot anymore, but coming up through when I was, 18 to 26, I did a lot. Women's hockey has come a long ways in the last 3 to 4 years. And honestly, with the BWHL, the way that they're headed, where they're allowed, I think it's body contact along the boards, no open ice hits. The hockey's come a long way. But as far as comparing it, it's like, I'd say a third and fourth line guy in senior hockey would be the same as a first and second line woman in U sports. Like, it's really good hockey. So
yeah, the speed's crazy. I've been to a couple women's games. It's impressive, man. I go see some of the UDM games. I used to have a coworker who played, and man, good hockey.
No, and UNB, they've been a powerhouse in the women's side lately. And ever since Sarah Hellworth has come in and started that program, they've been bang on since year one. It's great to see. So,
all right, so now hockey season's finished, and what else are you into? What else are you up to? What do you do in the off season? Do you ump some baseball?
Honestly, April, I'm not a huge baseball fan. If I was to go to Fenway, I'd enjoy it. But as far as sitting in the heat, that is not my cup of tea. April's a great month. I also golf a little bit here and there, not regularly, but we always go up to the Scott McKay golf tournament, Miramichi. We usually put 3 or 4 teams in, and Fredericton guys, and that's in July. So we usually see a lot of the senior hockey players and local Miramichi guys playing in that. But yeah, April's a great month, just with the snow melting and stuff. It's kind of a great month to relax. But as soon as May starts, I actually have a little side business too. I mow lawns on the side for myself. So come May 1st, it starts getting busy with that. So.
And you were talking a little bit earlier, you work for the university.
Yes. I'm an equipment operator at UNB. I've been there quite a while. It's a great spot to work. It also allows me the flexibility if for some reason we have a Friday night game at 6 or 7 o'clock somewhere, so I'm able to kind of duck away a few hours early. So it's a great setup there. My boss is very flexible to that stuff. So
perfect. We're going to get into some fun questions now because you knew we had to ask them.
Yeah.
So when you guys head to the rinks, do you guys carpool? Do you guys do a couple of you pop in?
We do, yeah.
right.
Leaving from Fredericton, the crew's paid mileage, so one vehicle's paid mileage, and they're very good with that. Being like Doketown obviously never questions mileage. That's something they knew going into things that they're going to have to pay. Jody Jardine's one of their local lines, and we use him quite a bit. So sometimes we only travel 3 guys, but I'd say 80% of the time there's 4 guys going up. And it's great. As a linesman, I don't usually drive. The guys usually pick me up at my door and we head up. So it's a great Friday and Saturday night thing to do, you know.
What music you listen to on the way to the rink?
The boys are gonna laugh because I'm a big Shania Twain fan. So I'm country
All right.
for the most part. And that's one good thing about refereeing, as you usually get to know the timekeepers and the music guys quite well. So if you're ever in any rink that I'm on the ice and Shania Twain comes on as we step on for the second or third period, you can guarantee that I requested that song.
Did you check out Shania last year in Moncton?
I didn't. I'm actually kicking myself for that because I seen the pictures after, and it just kind of creeped up on me, and I never got around to getting tickets. So,
wow, I checked it out with my girlfriend. It was a great time, man. You missed out.
Yeah,
you missed out.
But the boys, I'd say rock is usually what we listen to. But all the boys know I like country. So if somebody's in control of the music for the game, there's usually some country songs mixed in there. So,
all right. What's your favorite rink food?
You guys have been big on the burger, and honestly, I'm a poutine guy. So, and in my eyes, you can't screw a poutine up. I'll go curds. I'll go shredded cheese. I don't care. As long as it's chicken or turkey gravy. I don't want beef gravy. So,
no beef gravy.
No, I'm a chicken or turkey. So lean. That's the kind of gravy I like. So
that's going to be controversial. I think. I don't know. We'll see what the people from up north they'll tell you there. Jordan King, King.
But honestly, we usually get to the rink, and where the referees room in Doketown is, we're on the far side. So a lot of times if we make it up to the canteen, it's usually after the game. If they still have food, Doketown runs out, which I honestly don't blame them. That place is bumping most nights. So,
have you had the Doketown burger?
I haven't, but I think the start of next year I'm going to have one.
My God.
Yeah.
I don't even. If I would have known that, I don't know if I'd invited you on this. It's rough. It's rough.
Late at night, I'm not big on eating burger, heavy food late at night.
Fair.
Not that poutine isn't, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. There's not really any afternoon games with seniors. Mostly 7:00 starts. So.
Yeah, but I do like Doketown's 6:30 start. Honestly, I love that time. It's like if you're gonna do it early, and then the boys get the rest of the night to do whatever. So. Yeah,
and it worked out really well for them with the lower ledge. I know some guys would get out there afterwards, and that's right on.
Yeah. So.
All right. Who's your favorite hockey team?
I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan.
My man.
It hasn't been the best of years, but I'm a true fan, so it's going to come.
It's going to come. The Slavkovsky, Caulfield, and Suzuki. You build around that, and you're doing good.
That's right, yeah. So.
Right on, man. Well, I don't have any other questions. Corey, you got anything else?
No, I think Mr. King there has some questions for us.
It's your turn. It's your turn, Jordan.
I don't have questions so much. I've just got a few things we can chat about.
Go for it.
Got a few notes here. I had to laugh. I think I was talking with one of you guys when I messaged there at the start of the year just about the rules. It was the first or second game of the year, Miramichi Doketown, and we were standing there talking to Bill Riley, and we were kind of just explaining the rules, the ins and outs of senior hockey, because it'd been a little bit for him. And we explained the rules, whatnot, and he looks right at us. He says, "Well," he says, "looks like I'm coaching minor hockey again." He said, "with these rules," and we kind of chuckled just because a lot of the league now have the no change icing, and there's a few different options they have. So there really wasn't a whole lot on the whistles coach, right? So.
Yeah, I heard that from a couple of people that Bill was kind of perplexed by the no change not being there. Yeah. Hopefully the league gets together and talks about that because it adds a little complexity.
It does. I think that's the nice thing. Now that the league's established and people are kind of getting comfortable with things, I think you will see if the teams want to go that way, that there is options to kind of change things up a little bit. So,
I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting summer. I can't wait to see what comes out of the league meetings in a couple of weeks now.
Yeah. So another one I just want to shout out. There's a lot of behind the scenes with us. We have. So for every district in the province, there's a referee in chief. Ours happens to be Bob Hathaway. And I just want to give a big shout out to Bob. The scheduling that goes behind hockey is crazy, especially when you get snowstorms and tournaments and people getting sick. So all the local RICs deserve that praise. There, a lot of guys will never see them in the rink just because they're looking after 15, 16 barns. But yeah, Bob does a great job of keeping everybody organized. So
Absolutely.
yeah. What else do I have? I got a couple questions for you guys, actually. How do you guys do the travel? Like you guys are going 2 and 3 nights a week there on the weekends to Dalhousie and Miramichi and whatnot. So
Carpool.
It's expensive. I don't want to talk about how much we spent in gas this year. We'll skip that one. I think I'm very lucky that at the start of the year when I started this, it was me, and then I brought Corey on. Thank God, and my sister got on doing a lot of the video. And so we've been able to share the driving between, especially my sister. She's a tank, so it's not easy. Those Dalhousie games were super challenging, but you do what you got to do, man. We don't get paid by the mile. We don't get paid by the mile. So
yeah, those first Dalhousie games were bad though, because I think the first 3 Dalhousie games there was a snowstorm, so you have to drive in that. So.
And that's what a lot of our guys have issues with. So the guys that are working Junior A in Fredericton, they cover Grand Falls and Edmonton. Just obviously they don't have the numbers up there. And especially you get an Nova Scotia team in Edmonton that's traveled the morning of, and it's going to be snowing that day. Like those boys deserve a pat in the back. There's multiple times they'll leave work at 3:30 in the afternoon and head up. And there's been times where they've had to push game time back a half an hour, just so the boys can make it to the rink. So it's dedication right there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, one thing that we didn't touch on that I find kind of interesting is the levels of officials.
Yes,
it's not any official can ref a senior game. So talk a bit about that to me. Yeah.
So I'm a level 3 official. I'm a linesman. So my height, I'm 6'4". The general rule is if you're a tall guy and you enjoy breaking up fights, you enjoy doing that, you usually end up being a linesman by choice. Now there is some tall guys that are refereeing, but the rule of thumb is the guys that are refereeing are usually a little bit shorter just because of their build and whatnot. And honestly, this is going to sound stupid, but most times the shorter guys are better referees. Me, myself, like I just love having a fair face-off, love breaking up a good fight. I love being in there, whereas some guys thrive off being kind of the center of attention, right? So it's a great way to do it. And the levels, so basically, if you start when you're 14, you're level 1. If you recertify when you're 16, you automatically get your level 2. And then level 3 is usually a weekend-long course with some on ice as well. I had the opportunity to go for 4 back in the day, and for whatever reason, I forget what happened, I didn't go. But now they've also changed it too, where 4 and above is considered high performance, and then 1 to 3 is just grouped together as minor hockey. So I'll go through the levels. So level 1 would just be your minor hockey. 2 would be you're starting to creep into AAA on the lines. Level 3, you're refereeing, say, Bantam AAA. Level 4, you're usually starting to referee midget AAA, referee senior, junior C, women's university. Level 5, you're pretty much just going to do senior hockey, junior A, and men's U sports and women's U sports. And then level 6 is there's very, very few level 6s. It'd be national championships, Olympics, and that kind of stuff, the high performance stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah.
You always hear people talk about levels, but the clarity on what it is isn't always. I mean, I've kind of read about them just because I'm a nerd, but for the average fan.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like levels really don't mean a lot. It helps to have at least your 3, and then once you're on the ice as a 3, you're going to get thrown into whatever game as a linesman, and then as a referee, that's when you got to jump in and get your 4 for refereeing midget, major, and junior C and senior, and then on up from there. So
interesting.
Yeah, and then there's so much work that goes into the clinics. Chris Towler is our local guy in Fredericton that looks after all the minor hockey official clinics. And you're talking like putting on 7 and 8 clinics in the fall. Now he splits that up and has people doing that, but there's just so much behind the scenes work that goes into this stuff that it's crazy. So,
do you teach at any of the clinics?
I don't. I do a lot of supervising in the run of the year, so I'd say there's 10 or 15 of us that are in the rinks a lot, especially on minor hockey tournaments. Just seeing the new officials. A lot of times, new officials, it's more positioning and this and that. We're not harping on the rules, but if you see any of the familiar faces from senior hockey sitting in a rink here in town, up in the far corner with a notepad, that's 90% of the time that's what we're doing. So we try and keep a pretty low profile on that. So
Interesting.
yeah, and then like the guys are good. We all get out. Pretty much, if anybody's working senior hockey, they're giving back in some form, whether it's clinics at the start of the year, supervision. So.
Good. That's interesting to learn that side for sure. We've had a lot of players on. Nice to have a ref on. Linesman. Sorry.
That's the nice thing I'd like to see. Like, it's nice seeing the same players that at senior hockey games, and it's nice seeing all the different teams. And there's a lot of guys that kind of chit chat with you on the ice, but they probably never put the face to the name kind of thing, right? So.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We certainly appreciate it. You got anything else for us?
Just let me see what I got here. Oh yeah, the last thing I just wanted to ask you was: is there any news for next season? Is there any good gossip you guys got that's gonna lead us into next year that you can say? Or
anything I can say on the interview? Not really.
No.
Off interview, I'll stick around. We'll chat.
Yeah.
We're gonna see. We've got the first league meeting in early May,
Okay.
and we'll definitely have some people there to hear what's going on, find any rule changes or what the discussion is, and we'll have a lot of coverage of that. And then obviously in August we're gonna have another league meeting, and hopefully we'll be at that one.
Yeah.
And we're rolling through, man. We're not done.
No, I like it. It's been a great time, guys. Appreciate it for reaching out.
Thanks for coming on, brother. Hopefully we can bring you back on again. This is not over, sir.
Sounds good. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Take care.